How did things become so bad for Rascal Flatts guitarist Joe Don Rooney that the aeroplane lavatory felt like a large suite at the Ritz to him? Rooney's description of his experience flying back to Nashville is every flyer's second worst nightmare. You know what's the worst. You may have come across news stories on passengers being stuck on tarmac at Nashville airport for up to 8 hours. This was after Nashville received an entire winter's worth snow on just one day. Rooney was on one such flight and spent hours in the plane toilet. The ordeal started after 11 p.m. when his plane landed in Nashville and didn't end until after 4 a.m. when he picked up his bags. He said on Twitter, now X, that the extended wait on the tarmac triggered his anxiety disorder and claustrophobia. His 2-page-long tweet started with this: "Let me tell you about my PTSD experience. Sunday evening flying from Denver to Nash. We landed on time at Nashville at 11 p.m. The flight was perfect, 2 hours and uneventful, just like I like. Then, we sat on the tarmac waiting for a gate for 3 hours, and as y'all now know, I'm in recovery, and while in recovery from alcoholism, there are many triggers that can affect my sobriety." Rooney was arrested and pled guilty after receiving a DUI back in 2021. This is when his battle with alcohol became public. He has now been sober for more than 2 years after spending 4 months in rehab. After waiting on the tarmac for 45 minutes, the captain came out apologizing and turned off the seatbelt sign for the passengers to stretch out. That's when Rooney knew it was going to be a long wait. So I stared, freaking out a bit, and I had to take the one pill I had left of the medication I take nowadays for my anxiety. But that wasn't enough. At this point, I grew desperate. I had to let the flight attendants know that not only am I in recovery, but I suffer from anxiety disorder and a bit of claustrophobia. But this situation kept heating up my body and mind to the point that I had to get up and move my body. At 1 hour mark, I was in the lavatory trying to breathe slowly and deeply as the first beads of sweat started to drop from my forehead. Flight attendants were sensitive to his situation and accommodating, as long as he agreed to step out when people had to use the bathroom. They also offered him a drink, but he explained he was in recovery. Still feeling trapped, Rooney called a sober friend, tried meditation music, counting exercises, and prayed to God. Rooney compared this experience to the time he spent 48 hours in solitary confinement in a tiny jail cell back in June 2022. The passengers were finally deboarded at 2 a.m., but the journey was far from over. It took another 2 hours for his bag to come down the carousel. And I was finally able to laugh, and I mean laugh out loud, laughed about the whole ordeal, and people were looking at me like I was the Joker from Batman. Rooney revealed he was on a United flight, but didn't blame the airline or the staff on his plane. He shared the story, hoping to start a conversation on how all airlines can handle passengers with conditions like his better. Unfortunately, his troubles still weren't totally over, as snow in Nashville created a terrible drive home. Rooney drove back at snail's pace, but he was still laughing, looking back at his ordeal. Please do like the video and subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of country.